Hey everybody, this is Daniel here. How's it going? I'm going to do a video on the FiberPress. This time I'm going to do everything live. We're going to make some white paper micarta. And let's go over everything I have here first. I got a little bit of tin foil rolled out as my work area. That way if I get any epoxy on it, I can just roll it up, throw it away when I'm done. I have a mixing tray. You can recycle these. I used it on the last video and I just peeled the old epoxy out. Little measuring cup. I use these as a mixing tray for my knife scales when I'm doing epoxy. Bigger cup to put everything in. We have in the back, you can use a 14 millimeter or a 9/16 inch wrench. We have 2-part epoxy here from Marine. It's crystal clear, but you can use fiberglass resin or whatever you want. I've got this pan lining paper. Just pick it up from the grocery store, and I went and cut out a piece that I think will fit well in the press with my white paper here. And you want to cut your stock to be 2 inches wide, and it can be up to 1 foot long. Alright, so like I said, we're going to do everything live. So right now I'm going to go ahead and mix up the epoxy. This is a 2-to-1 epoxy. Get this stuff out of the way. Then I'm probably going to screw this video up in some manner because it's live. So you guys bear with me. Let's see if I'm even on screen here. Alright, we got 1. 2. I'm going to try to do 2 parts of this, 4 parts of the other, since it's a 2-to-1 ratio. And I'm thinking that's going to be plenty, if not a fair bit too much, but I don't want to not have enough, of course. I'm usually a little bit more careful when I'm measuring this out. Yeah, that's going to be way too much epoxy, but what the heck. Got some other projects I can use it for here in just a second. Alright, and you really want to mix just about any kind of epoxy for at least a minute, so we're just going to do that right now. And what you want to do after you mix your epoxy, you don't want to get a lot of bubbles in it, so just be real careful when you mix it. And if you can transfer it back and forth between a couple containers, that's good. Since I went and mixed it from one to the next, we're doing pretty solid on that too. So it never hurts to do that. I've already dripped a little bit on my stuff here, but that's okay. When I said I'll use the extra, what it is, this works as bar top epoxy, and I'll just either pour it on my shop floor to reinforce it or on one of my tables here in the shop. Alright, now that's pretty boring doing the mixing, but I really wanted to do it on one take. I thought the last video was, you you guys couldn't really tell exactly what went on with the process with all the cuts, and so I had to do a lot of takes for some of the stuff to get it right. I think it'd be cooler just to do it like this. Alright, so I got tons of epoxy in there. That's a lot. I mixed up way too much. Alright, what I'm going to do, try to get this stuff out of the way. We're just going to see if this is centered on camera first. All I do is I don't even use a squeegee or anything. I'm wearing gloves. This right here. And then I'm going to get this out of the way. Let's set up my paper. Which normally, if I wasn't doing this in one take, I'd change gloves right now, so I wasn't making a little bit of a mess, you know? This is okay. Alright. So we're just going to set our first piece down. Got a little too much epoxy on there. Well centered. And all we're going to do is just make a simple stack. And you can squeegee it on. That's a really great method. It's just how I'm doing it right now. Seems to work pretty good for me. And this isn't regular printer paper. This is cardstock, and I need to squeeze it out more. Let's see. All right, there we go. So the cardstock's a little bit thicker, and it's actually going to soak up some of the epoxy. Some colored craft paper would be really good stuff to use also, or colored cardstock. And this stuff's, as you see, it kind of goes on and then it soaks in just a little bit. You can actually see it soaking in. So you want to get plenty of epoxy off of it. I can tell I'm getting too much in the first few pieces already. No question. This is the first time I've ever made any paper-based micarta, if I've mentioned that already. I've done felt, micarta, burlap, yarn, linen, cotton, and even some cut up paracord. And my molds, I haven't used a lot of metal molds. I've done a couple metal sheets with C-clamps, and I've also done a lot of plywood molds, and I even made a plywood spacer for the mold. But anytime, like with a plywood spacer, the epoxy would kind of squeeze out around everything and make a huge mess. I actually lost a couple C-clamps doing that. And it was messy enough to warrant doing it in the yard. So this is really nice, I think. And it would squeeze it out. And then I was, you know, like I said, the flat metal ones are just flat plywood, as I started out with. It would just squeeze it all around. And then the issue with that is that it would come out really uneven. And you get a little wood impression in there, which you could get around by sanding and all that. But now, after trying all these presses, I can tell you I'm going to be back to making micarta because of this press. So thanks again to Jake at FiberPress. That's really cool, you guys, for sending me this out to review. And bear with me, we're getting there. We only have a few more pieces to do. It's actually, one of these are kind of getting soaked already, just sitting in here. You can see you can just kind of pre-soak them a little bit before you squeegee off by hand. As you guys can, I don't even have the stacked up carefully or anything. I'm going to clean this up because I have way too much epoxy on these. That's 2 pieces. So yep, it's boring, I know. Bear with me. We'll be molding stuff up really soon. And this is a little more time consuming. If you're going to start off, one material that's really nice to work with is felt. You're only going to have to do like maybe 10 layers to do a 1/4 inch thick sheet. And it's really cool stuff. It soaks up the resin very nicely, and the colors come out really bold. And it has a nice polished Scotch-Brite or sandblast finish when you're done. My last piece, I don't know, it was probably about 10 pieces of burlap, and I think it really should have been about